are here because the outside world rejects you. This is your family.
Hey, what's up everyone? Today we're going to go ahead and break down and review issue 1 of the sequel to the Ninja Turtles Power Rangers crossover comic. The next chapter in this Clash of Worlds has begun, and we're here to give our thoughts on it all. Now, for those who don't know, just a quick refresher, the Turtles and the Rangers had a crossover comic back in 2019 where the Turtles and the Rangers had a deal with the evil Green Ranger Shredder. A lot of you guys probably saw images of that character floating around the internet and stuff. They also had a deal with Rita Repulsa, although the Turtles and Rangers were able to get the Green Ranger power coin back from Shredder, causing Shredder and Rita to retreat. Although when they retreated, we did hear Rita tell Shredder to tell her where Dimension X is, and that's the last we had heard of them. Now this sequel picks up 6 months after all that, with Casey Jones on his own trying to figure out what happened to Shredder and Rita, and that's where the story begins. So before we get started, just want to say spoiler warning, we're going to go ahead and break down everything that went down, so click away now if you don't want to be spoiled, but if you're all ready to go, let's go ahead and dive right on in. Alright, so just how we saw in the 5-page preview that was released for this book, in this first part, we have Casey Jones trying to get information about the whereabouts of Shredder out of Karai, who doesn't know or doesn't seem to want to give him any information. The two fight it out a little bit as they argue when eventually Casey is able to knock her down. He asks her again where's Shredder when all of a sudden, a portal begins to open up behind him and something hits Casey in the back of the head, knocking him to the ground. A voice from out of frame says, "Well, isn't this fortuitous?" And that's the last we see of this, and we cut over to the Angel Grove juice bar. Over at the bar, we see Zach ordering a drink for him and his friends, Donatello and Michelangelo, who now have human forms that they seem to be using some type of technology to produce. Now, as they order, we see that Donatello begins to phase in and out of his human form. He starts to become concerned, but this is when Billy swoops in and escorts him away. Seeing Donnie worried here as he began to change back really gives you the feeling that in their mutant forms, people here would probably freak out. Now, we get a little bit more story here in the juice bar with April, Trini, and Kimberly. April seems to be worried about Rita and Shredder returning, but Kimberly and Trini say that they have sensors on the moon and that they've been keeping an eye on the grid, and that as long as nothing's showing up, they're okay. This is when Bulk and Skull come and introduce themselves to April. They tell April that they can get her an interview with the Power Rangers and that they're actually really close friends with them. This is when we see Trini and Kimberly rolling their eyes at the situation, and we move on to the next scene. This seems to be a little bit later on in the day, and we get a few different looks at what the different Turtle Ranger counterparts are up to. We first cut over to Billy and Donatello, who are at the command center. Donatello is back in his turtle form, and they figured out that sediment on the holograms is what was causing Donnie to phase in and out earlier, but that they fixed it. So there you go. They're achieving these human forms by using some type of hologram technology. Here Donatello says it was nice to go out in public again, and that the last time they had been out in public like that was when they were morphed into Power Rangers from the previous crossover. Here Donnie asks about something called shadow morphers and if they could go ahead and test those out already, but Billy says there's still some kinks to work out, and then asks Donatello if he wants to go start his Dragon Zord modifications that he wanted to do. Donatello begins to geek out and the two head out. One thing I did notice about this scene was this Ranger suit that's in the background the whole time. It doesn't look like a regular Power Ranger suit. It looks a little bit more armored. I wonder what they're going to do with that. But anyways, we cut over to Leonardo and the Red Ranger Jason, who are training. The two leaders are discussing how similar Tommy and Rafael are and how they can be difficult, but that they're absolutely great to have on your side in a fight. I really like this part. Seeing the two leaders sparring and bonding over some of this was pretty cool. The art here is really spectacular as well. I really like the way they made both characters look. But yeah, this scene doesn't last very long. We next jump over to Tommy and Rafael, and they're with the character of Tyler. He was from the first crossover. He tells them that Casey and the ex-foot soldiers from the last crossover had been doing double shifts, extra patrols, I would imagine to keep an eye on if Shredder had returned or not. Well anyways, Tyler here says that they discovered something. Some other bad guys are beginning to go missing. Rafael asks which bad guys, and you find out that Leatherhead, Slash, and Karai and a few others cannot be found. Tommy asks Rafael if Rafael's got any ideas on what's going on, and Rafael says no, but that he thinks he may know someone who will have some answers. Tommy and Rafael head down into the sewers and seek counsel with the Rat King. The Rat King is heavily guarded though, but eventually Rafael and Tommy are able to talk to him. Rat King apologizes for his heightened security, but that he assumed that they were there to abduct him as well. Rafael is confused by this, and he says he's not there to hurt him. This is when the Rat King tells him that he was worried about Tommy, not Rafael, because another Ranger is who is behind the abductions of all the villains, and that he assumed it was about to happen to him as well. This scene ends with the Rat King saying, "They will come for us all." We next jump over to Rikers Island, and we see that Rocksteady and Goldar are breaking out Baxter Stockman from prison. You can see that they went with the 1987 cartoon style when it comes to Baxter for this version. Anyways, you hear that Krang is the one who sent them to break Baxter out. Rocksteady and Goldar begin to start taking out some of the guards and work their way up to the top of the prison roof as they bring Stockman along. But when they get to the roof, we see that the Rangers and the Turtles are waiting for them. A fight kicks off. During the fight, Baxter grabs some type of transmitter and begins to call out to Dimension X, although Donatello sneaks up on him and scares him off. As the fight continues, Rafael gets knocked to the ground by Rocksteady, and this is when someone says, "Looks like I got here just in time," and we see that Casey Jones has returned. Casey helps up Raph slaps him and says that's for taking off, and then he hugs him and says don't ever do that again. Rafael jumps back into the fight and says they'll catch up after, and for Casey to go and wrangle Stockman. We jump over to Donatello and Trini, who have Stockman cornered on the rooftop. We get a nice little Easter egg to Baxter becoming a fly here, with Donnie saying the only way Baxter is going to get out of this is if he learns to fly. This is when Casey shows up, and Donatello is happy to see Casey. Casey tells him to go help the others and that he will babysit Stockman, though Donatello and Trini begin to debate him here, and Casey ends up knocking out Donatello. Trini tells Casey, "What are you doing?" And Casey says, "What I should have done a long time ago, embrace chaos." Boom, we see that Casey has morphed into some type of Power Ranger. Just as he morphs, he says Power Extreme, and we can see him fully suited up as a Ranger. The suit is black with a big red X across the chest. It's super cool looking. The helmet, at least around the mouth part, has that hockey mask style design that we're familiar with Casey Jones having. He has a Ranger-fied hockey stick weapon, and his whole body appears to be emitting some type of red energy. This is when the comic jumps back over to the fight between the Rangers and Turtles with Rocksteady and Goldar. Michelangelo is making some jokes, trying to convince the bad guys to give up, when all of a sudden Casey drops in and slams his weapon to the ground, causing Michelangelo and the Pink Ranger to go flying. Kimberly is surprised that she's seen another Ranger. Then she starts to realize who it is, and so does everybody else. A portal begins to open up behind Casey, and he tells Rocksteady and Goldar to go through and take Baxter. Leonardo calls out to Casey, saying, "I can't let you leave. We can't let you leave." All the while, Jason's trying to hold back Leonardo. Then Casey, as he steps through the portal, says, "You can't stop me, Leo. Not this time. This is the way it has to be." Then the portal closes as you hear Casey Jones's voice say, "It's a brave new world, my friends. I will see you all again soon." And that's where issue 1 ends. To be continued. Okay, so it looks like some of our theories came true. We had thought this mysterious Ranger was Casey when we had first seen him in some of the covers and art for this crossover. And there you go, that's what's going on. I wonder where we go from here. I love the art in this book. The turtles look amazing. I believe Dan Mora is doing the art behind this, and his turtles just look fantastic. I'm loving what I'm seeing here. But anyways, that's it for this one. Leave your thoughts down below in the comments. What are some of your theories? What do you think is going to happen in this crossover? Also, heads up, issue 2 of the crossover is set to be coming out January 25th. So not too long of a wait for the next installment of this story. Can't wait to check it out. Remember to follow on all the socials. Links are down below in the description, and I will see you guys in a little bit with another video. Take care.
Armed